Hello everyone and welcome to another video on my channel. As always, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate you watching this video. Today's video is going to be about creating this mani. So this is basically a bit of a colour and glitter gradient from the free edge up the nail. And yes, I know I have 10 matching nails, and what's all that about? That is very unlike me. There is a reason for it. And also a reason for having this particular design. So I have a very busy few weeks coming up, and I know that I'm not going to get to redo my nails for at least 3 to 4 weeks. So I wanted something that was going to be a bit less obvious in the cuticle area as my nails grow out, which is also why I don't have any crystals or any sort of colour up near the cuticle area at the moment. It's going to be a bit kinder as the nails grow out. It'll be less obvious. I also have a lot of work commitments for the next few weeks, which is why all the 10 nails are the same. I felt it was probably appropriate to have matching nails, but I couldn't go all out and just have, plain colour. So I did have to go some glitter because, you can't give up all nail art, can we? That's just not right. So everything that I used is on the table here. So the red colour that I used is Smart Oxblood. It's one of my favourites from Madam Glam. It's a beautiful colour. I also used my NSI base coat. I used 2 top coats in this video, and you'll see why when we come to use them in the video, but I used my matte top coat initially, and then I use my gloss top coat. And that's just because I used the matte top coat to even out the glitters, basically. I just wanted that extra layer. And to be honest, I'm just not a huge fan of matte top coat, so it doesn't worry me if I go through my matte top coat more. I'd rather use my shiny top coat for when I actually really want to use it. So that's why I've got those 2. I've got just a bit of isopropyl alcohol in my Dap and Dish as usual for any cleanup. In terms of the glitter that I used, I've actually used 2. So I actually used one glitter polish, which is in this solid gel polish kit from NSI. This is the one I bought, I think it's about a couple of months ago, a month or 2 ago now. And I just love it. It's a great palette. And yeah, as you can see, the polishes in here, they don't self-level at all. As you can see, you can still see the gouges from where I've used them all. But yeah, so I used this silver one here on the 3rd row down. And to complement that, I just used some loose sort of mylar silver glitter particles as well. In terms of brushes and implements, I've got my cleanup brush, which you've seen a million times. I've got a glitter brush. You will need a standalone brush for this. These gel polish kits do not come with a brush. And I've got one that I use explicitly for glitter because you're never going to get all the glitter out of your brush. So if you have a dedicated glitter brush, it doesn't matter. I also used my ombre brush. You don't actually have to have an ombre brush. If you don't have an ombre brush, do not let that stop you doing this design. You can use any brush. You could actually have used the brush that came in the bottle, so that's optional. You don't necessarily have to have that. I just used an orange wood stick to move some of the loose glitters around my nail, but again, you could have used your brush for that. And I just used a buffer. So often when you use loose glitters like this, some of them stay a little bit raised or there's a bit of texture on your nail. So what I like to do is I put a layer of base coat down over the top of my glitter. And that's just because I don't ordinarily use base coat. So if this has glitter in it, it doesn't really worry me, but I don't want to get glitter in my good top coat. So I use my base coat for that. Then I go in with a layer of the matte top coat, knowing that I am then going to buff over it with this file. You could use a file if you have one. I just tend to find that, especially with a very fine glitter like this one, it doesn't take a lot to even out the texture. So a buffer generally is going to do the job for you, but if you don't have a buffer, then feel free to use a file. And I think that is everything. So for the NSI bits and pieces that I have here, I do have a code for NSI that will get you 10% off your first order with them. I will put it up on the screen. And yes, so for those who are not subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you subscribed and liked my videos. And thank you for watching, and let's get into it. So I've cleansed my nails and I've just come in now with my gel polish colour. And I'm basically doing this a smile line, not being very precise with the line at all because I'm going to be ombreing this color up the nail. So you don't want to go too high up. Well, it depends how obviously how high up your nail you want to go. I basically want my color to go roughly 2/3 of the way up my nail. So I'm just coming in, basically doing a smile line, and then I'll come in with my ombre brush to do the fade. And you don't need to be too precise with this because I'm also going to put glitter over the top. So it doesn't need to be perfect, but you do want the bulk of the colour at the tip of the nail. So yeah, you want the colour at the base, and then we'll fade it up with our ombre brush. And I think I said in the intro, you don't need to have an ombre brush to do this step. I just happen to have one, so I thought, oh, well, I'll use it. But if you don't, it's no big deal. You can use any brush. You could even use the brush in your gel polish bottle. But just take most of the colour off the brush first. So if you are going to use the gel polish brush, then put your color on and then basically wipe off as much color as you possibly can before you come in and do this step, which I'm using the ombre brush for. So that's probably the only reason I just use a separate brush. Yeah, but really there's no time save or anything like that. So if you don't have a standalone brush, then no worries, just use the gel polish brush. So you don't need to be too prescriptive, as I said, because it's a bit of a gradient. I'm just cleaning up the side walls before I pop those into the lamp for 30 seconds. And basically rinse and repeat. So I'm doing a second coat of that, and again concentrating that color on the free edge, basically the smile line. I'm not going to the very top of where I've brushed the color up. I'm just sort of going roughly where I did before, because I'll just come back in with my ombre brush and repeat. And I think I do it a third time, just because you do end up sort of diluting the color a bit when you come in with the ombre brush. So but again, it depends on how opaque you want your color. Because I knew I was putting glitter over the top, I did want my color to be quite opaque so that it didn't get lost underneath the glitter. So I'm just repeating what I did on the first coat. Sorry, that angle's not really great with the ombre brush, is it? I'm kind of blocking the view. I don't really think that one through. Sorry about that. I'll try and be a little bit more aware of that when I do future videos. So I hope you're all keeping well. I know this is all a bit of a crazy time at the moment with everything that's going on in the world. It's been a very strange few months, so I hope you're all keeping well. And continuing to do your nails, because it's just one of those things. I think it's yeah, it's great to do. I don't know about you, but I do them sometimes and I just sort of get lost in my own little world. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. It's a little bit creative, and I can just switch my brain off to a lot of things that are going on in the world that I don't really want to think about. So yeah, I'm just coming in with my I think this is my final coat, and doing my ombre brush once again. And then they will go back in the lamp for 30 seconds. I do usually cure reds for 60 seconds, even though all Madame Glam colours are 30-second cure. But because this is sort of being spread across the nail, I do actually just go in with a 30-second cure on this one. And now I am going in with the glitter. So this particular palette doesn't have names for each of the glitters, but as you can see, it's on the third row down and just one in from the left. And it's just a really pretty silver, very fine silver glitter. And I think I just picked up a dog fur or something, as always. And I'm just sort of spreading that around the nail, moving it round with the brush. And then I will go up over that line as well, which is just to try and get a little bit of a gradient going on. It's quite opaque, that silver, actually. You really don't need very much of it, unless, of course, you're trying to, make your whole nail opaque in the silver, which is not what I'm trying to do. I just want it sort of scattered and give it a bit of a scattered look across the nail. So you don't actually need very much of it. And then I'm just dipping into my little silver loose glitter flakes, and then spreading those around the nail as well. So the brush I'm using for this is actually a dedicated glitter brush. I always use that with glitter because you will never get all the glitter out of your gel polish brush. It is basically an impossibility no matter how hard you try. And you can damage your brush by trying too hard as well. Like if you're continually soaking it in isopropyl alcohol or acetone trying to get rid of the glitter, you're just going to damage your bristles. So if you can just have a standalone brush for glitters, then that takes care of that, which is really handy. And because this gel polish is very viscous, it's quite thick. It's not a runny gel polish, as you can see, the fact that it's in a palette, it doesn't move. Then you don't need to worry about flash curing or anything like that, because it's just not going to move on your nail. And of course your loose glitter won't either, because you've put that into the wet gel. So you don't need to worry about flash curing with this, which makes it that little bit quicker. And overall, this is actually a very quick design to do. As I think I mentioned, I'm really just sort of doing it because it's a good go-to for me. If I know I'm not going to get to do my nails for a while, then I often go to this design because it grows out really nicely. You don't really notice the growth anywhere near as much as if you've got colour or crystals or anything right up near your cuticle line. Those, as beautiful as they look, over 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to look very outgrown. When you do this design, that doesn't really happen because you've basically got nude polish. And if you're not using a builder gel or acrylic, then you can just have a base coat, gel polish base coat, and you wouldn't even have that. So it does grow out really, really nicely. So it's a good option if you know you're not going to be getting to do your nails for a while. If you're lucky enough to be going traveling or on holidays or something like that. Oh, sounds wonderful. Wish I could be doing that sometime soon. But anyway, it's a good option for something like that. So yeah, this is just a matter of just moving it around the nail, basically, to wherever you want your glitter, and you can make it as as fine a layer or as opaque a layer as you want to. I just wanted a fair bit of that red to still poke through, so I did apply it relatively sparsely, but enough that it still gives a lovely sparkle and a nice twinkle when the sun catches it. So, which is of course the beauty of glitter. Just been very inspired to do glitter nails lately. I don't know why. It must be the weather, I think. The sun's coming out. We're coming into spring. Well, we are technically in spring now. And we are actually finally getting to see some sunny weather. And when it catches the sun, it just looks sparkly and amazing. And it's just so pretty. So yes, I've gone in with the glitter for, I think this is like my second or third mani in a row. Yeah, and now I'm just spreading those across my nail. I think there I picked up a bit too much for the ring finger, so I just spread a little bit on the little finger as well. That's the handy thing about doing the multiple nails without having to freeze cure them first. And I think I come in at some point with my orange wood stick because I managed to pick up a bit of a clump of the glitter, which can happen, when you go in your glitter pot with a gel polish brush that's got a little bit of gel polish on it, then sometimes it can clump. So that's where it's really handy to have something like a dotting tool, or as you can see here, I'm going with my orange wood stick. Does the same thing. It just allows you to sort of disperse the loose glitter across your nail and move it around as you want to, because of course until you cure it you can spend as much time as you like moving it around the nail. I love gel polish for that. It's fantastic. I don't actually think I could go back to normal polish now. I think by the time I've debated what to do, it would have half dried and I'd just make a right mess. So now I'm coming in with a base coat. So the reason for this really is just to sort of lock in the loose glitter. It does a nice extra layer over the top. Some of that loose glitter, is going to have not stuck all that well into the gel polish. So you're just removing that because I don't want to get any glitter into my top coat. So I'm just using a base gel, and this base gel I use mainly, well, pretty much purely for glitters. And yeah, so that's fine. This is my go-to to put a bit of another layer over my glitters, and it just means that any of that loose glitter that might be not quite cured into the gel, you're going to cure it into this layer, so it won't go anywhere after that, and it will not contaminate your top coat. So it's handy if you can have a dedicated glitter top coat. But I also quite like to go in with a layer of base gel because it's got a tacky layer. And so I can put a layer on top of it without having to buff it first. So here I'm actually going in with a matte top coat. And the reason I'm doing this is because loose glitter can make your nails a bit textured. It doesn't always sit super flat, and I usually go in with a buffer and I file it, or I just sort of buff it so that you get that lovely smooth texture on your nails. So I'm just going in with a layer of top coat. I've used the matte top coat for two reasons. One, if I don't get every last millimeter of nail with my buffer, it really doesn't matter because it's a matte top coat. And secondly, I'm not a big fan of matte top coat, to be honest. I know it's a really trendy thing and all of that, and I've tried it a few times, and I just don't love it. I just love shine, sparkle and glitter and all things shiny. So it doesn't worry me using my matte top coat for something that where really I'm just applying an extra layer just to give me a bit of extra thickness or another layer to my nails. So here I have cured that, and I am now going in. I know this is on my other hand. I'd done this hand earlier before I started filming, and I'm just going in and I'm just using a buffer. You could use a file for this, but just go in with a very light hand if you do. You don't need much pressure here. Not for this glitter anyway, because it's quite a fine, thin, loose glitter. If you're using very chunky glitters, then you're probably more tempted to go in with an actual hand file, but this is just a buffer. It just really needs a light buff and not much more than that. And it's just to make sure that all of those glitters are laying flush and flat, and I don't have any texture or rough patches on my nails. So it's actually an optional step. You don't have to do this if you're not worried about, rough texture on your nails or anything like that. Then you can just skip this step. But it's just something that I like to do, and that's the other reason I like to do it, is because once your nails are all buffed and matte, and then you go in with your shiny top coat, and it just brings that glitter to life. It just looks beautiful, and I just love that. So it's almost like an excuse to have my nails all matte so that I can go in with a shiny top coat, because they do look fantastic. And here I'm just feeling just to make sure I've got any rough patches that I may have had, and everything's feeling nice and smooth and flat. And as I said, you want a light hand with this. Do not overdo the buffing, certainly not if you have a file, because you can just file through that layer of top coat and base coat that you've put on, and then start chipping away at your glitter or your colour, which of course is not something that you want to do. Not the end of the world if you do. Everything is repairable with gel polish. You could just go back in with a touch of colour or put on a little bit of extra glitter. But if you don't overfile in the first place, then it saves you having to do that. And with the buffer, you're not very likely to overdo it. You're not going to go through 2 layers of clear with a buffer unless you're really going to town, which I'm not. Probably looks like I'm being harsher than I actually am. Yeah, there's very no pressure, or as you can see, I don't go through the colour or the glitter here at all. But yes, just making sure that everything is smooth, evened off. Then yeah, I have nice smooth nails for the duration of the mani, which is great. And then I've just got my thumb to go. So I apologise for the shape of this nail. I had a bit of a break on the left hand side of the
of my thumbnail, so it looks a little bit odd in shape. But I thought, oh, the only other thing I can do is like cut back all of my other nails, and I didn't really want to do that. I was just like, no, I'll just live with an awkward shape for a while. That's fine. And that's one of the things, of course, when you just do a gel overlay on natural nails. You know, you do have to go with the natural shape of your nails. They do sometimes break, things happen. They're not that sort of perfect shape that you can get with an extension, but yeah, such is life. It's all good. I think I just found a bit of a sticky up bit there, so I just went in and took care of that. Now I'm just going to go in, remove any dust. There shouldn't be very much because it's really just smoothing down the nail, but you just want to get rid of anything that is on your nails before you go in with your top coat. And of course, this is the good bit. I actually think I filmed both hands doing the top coat because, you know, that's the good bit. That's the stuff that you want to see, because that's when all your glitter goes all sparkly and pretty. So yes, you'll have to excuse the uncoordinated nature of me doing my dominant hand with my non-dominant hand. But you know, anyone that does their own nails knows exactly what this is like. So yes, it's just it's the nature of it, but that's all good. Oh, look at those sparkles. So lovely. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for putting glitter on gel polish. I think it just comes up and looks amazing. And as I said, when you catch it in the sunlight or something like that, it just looks fantastic. Can never have too much glitter, I don't think. It's just not possible. So this particular top coat is a 60-second cure. So once you've applied that, just pop it in your lamp, obviously for whatever duration for the system that you're using. But this one is 60 seconds for me, so that went in the lamp. I did both of my thumbs off camera, because yeah, you'll see both hands anyway, so I just did my thumbs separately. I usually do. I do actually have a 5-fingered lamp, but I just for the sake of, you know, making sure that my thumbnail is cured properly, I do usually do my thumbs separately, rather than put them in at the same time as the fingers. So personal preference, you can do either. If you do put your thumb in, just make sure you put it on an angle that the side, you know, you're trying to get your thumb as flat as you possibly can, which feels awkward, but you can do it. It just feels a little bit awkward. So depends how I'm doing for time. If I'm in a bit more of a rush, then I'll do all 5 at the same time and put them in together. Otherwise, I will do my thumbs separately. So, but yes, you just need to be careful with the angle of your thumb and make sure that the whole thing is getting cured. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope a little bit of glittery goodness is always a good thing, and I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I always appreciate it when you watch and comment on my videos. Yeah, so it's all good. Thank you very much. And this is the end result, all nice and shiny and blingy. I hope you're all well. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.